All right then, good morning. It's 10 o'clock and I'm so delighted to see you all together instead of in our living rooms looking at screens. And we're going to make this as fun and interactive as possible. So this arts webinar is focused on elementary arts, or bringing the arts into the elementary classroom. Although we have a wide variety of attendees today, I'm very grateful to know that VAPA leads throughout the county are here. We have administrators, we have people from outside of our county, which are also super welcome. And of course, the bulk of our group today is elementary teachers. So welcome, and we're gonna have some fun and learn a lot together. So this is called Arts It's Elementary, and it's presented by the Riverside County Office of Education, which is where I work. And my supervisor, Mike Barney, is also online this morning, as well as my assistant, Jessica Moyers, who will be adding in links as I'm talking about things so that you won't have to always be worrying about, oh gosh, I need to take a note or I'm gonna miss something. As well, this is being recorded and it will be up on my webpage within the week, so you can go and look back on it if you see something you wanna review. So please remember to mute yourself, and if you forget, I'm sure Jessica will do it for you. We're going to be using the chat and some polls, so please jump in there on the chat. I want to see what you have to say. And some note taking is recommended, just so it will jog your memory if you want to go back and look at things later. Just a little background on myself. My name is Louisa Higgins. I'm the Arts Administrator for Riverside County Office of Education. I've been doing that for a year, and that's very exciting because Riverside County didn't have an Arts Administrator prior to that. And so the county is really placing an emphasis on the arts and the importance of the arts, especially in elementary education, as of a year ago. My background is elementary. I was 14 years in the classroom, so I really come at this with an approach that is elementary centric and with an understanding of the challenges and constraints that you have in the classroom, but also what's possible. And then I've been doing this work in the arts for about the same amount of time, 14 years. I'm dating myself a little bit. And I continue to practice my art. I continue to paint and write and perform. And so I'm coming at it from an artist sensibility as well. So first of all, I'd like to ask why you're here. And there's a number of reasons up there, and it could be curiosity, or you want resources, wondering about integration, or how to justify it with administrators. So I'm going to put up a poll. Oops. Excuse me. Let's see. Let me grab my poll. And if you could go ahead and take a moment and put in your answers, and it's multiple choice. You might have more than one reason for being here this morning and what you want to learn. So I'd love it if everybody could answer. So we're at 70%, 75. Only 3 more people. That's probably me as one of them. Okay, so less curiosity. So we know about the arts, but we're looking for resources. We want to know about arts integration. And also, how do we justify it? If it's something new, how do we make a case for why we're doing the arts? Thank you for that. So you can see arts resources and integration are our top results. Okay. So moving on, I want to talk about our why. Why do the arts? That's where you should always start. And so I'd like to give you 3 great reasons that you can feel really comfortable with. Now, there's been a lot of talk the past few years about social and emotional learning. And of course, those are part and parcel of the arts. And the 2 images I have on the screen refer to things that we have dealt with in the teaching profession over this time. And again, I'm dating myself, but I remember very clearly the day I was teaching when 9/11 happened and how traumatic that was, and how as a teacher I tried to address that and help students process that as I myself was dealing with that and trying to heal from it. And so having social and emotional learning is really a way to build resilience. And so we have COVID-19 that we've been dealing with, all of us, the kids, us, and we don't want to come back to school in the fall and pretend it didn't happen. We want to use the arts as that piece that helps us to process, to talk about it, to share about it, to move through it. So that is one great reason to start incorporating the arts into what we're doing. Another really important reason that's been talked a lot about in education, but has a special poignancy as of the last few weeks, is cultural relevance and teaching in a way that students feel represented, that they are part of the curriculum, that they see themselves in what we're doing. And so in the visual art world, for instance, I put up a couple of examples that I use widely. And one of them on the left is Diego Rivera and Frida Kahlo, who were both painters that are Latinx. And then on the right side, Jean-Michel Basquiat, who is an African-American artist out of New York City. So both of those are examples, just one example of how cultural relevance can be used in the classroom and make students feel that they're represented and their history and culture is also important. I also can't stress strongly enough how important the arts are for second language learners. Second language learners come to us with a lot of challenges. They're trying to learn the language and they're trying to learn. And traditionally in education, what we've done with that is remediate. We want to get you up to speed in math and English, and so we're going to give you more classes. But the problem with that is that we tend to take away electives or the fun things that would keep those students motivated and engaged in school. So I have had programs in the past. I was with Palm Springs Unified School District for many years, and I had programs that were specifically for newcomers. So you could take a salsa class and you didn't have to speak the language in order to learn and follow along and see what was being demonstrated. We've also done calligraphy with newcomers. So it really brings down the intimidation of the classroom, and it also creates a platform where parents can come into the school to see performances and see their children doing the arts where they feel less intimidated, they feel more welcome. So those are three great reasons, just for starters, as to why the arts are important and valuable. And really, I thought of this before COVID happened. The landscape of education certainly is changing, and the regard for the arts has definitely been changing over the past few years due to advocacy groups and due to what's changing as far as the standards and the frameworks that have come along for the arts that are newly updated. So the arts, in fact, are core curriculum, and the California Department of Education in January of last year just put forth the new California Art Standards, which are adapted from the National Art Standards with very few changes. And you can find those, they are up on my webpage, and Jessica can put up the link for the California Art Standards there. But they have standards and frameworks just like any other core curriculum subject. And in fact, they are supported at the very highest level. So Governor Newsom, there's a quote there by him. There's our state superintendent, Tony Thurmond, and there are some very strong and passionate and powerful arts advocacy groups that are out there working on behalf of the arts and getting them included in schools as much as possible. So we talked about the why, and then how. That's a big question, especially if you haven't been doing it up to this point and you want to. And there's a couple of different ways. One is a standalone arts lesson, which is I'm teaching a music lesson or a fine art lesson or a dance lesson just for its own sake. And I call that standalone. And then there's also, which is incidentally the very highest level. You know, we would love to have art teachers in every elementary school, as we do in music for many school districts. But if that's not possible, one of the things that we can do along the way is integrated art lessons, which means you're combining a traditional core curriculum with an arts lesson to make it more powerful, make it more exciting. So ideally, we'll talk about both today, and that's what we would have in our educational settings. So I would just like you to take a moment and think about what are the art forms. Maybe you know them, maybe you don't. Let me just grab my poll here. Oops. You can tell I'm amazing at technology. Let me back that up. I just did all the presentation. Oh dear. Okay, here we go. See if I can grab my poll, or here we go. Okay, poll number 2. Well, I'm going to skip the poll because clearly I'm not as good at that as I thought I would be. But anyway, take a moment and think about what the art forms are. And there's actually 5, and one of them is brand new. And here they are. So visual art, music, which includes both instrumental and vocal, theater, which is drama, acting, dance, and new media arts, which probably isn't a surprise. Why would it be included? But it is one of the National Art Standards and California Art Standards, and it's newly added. So if you've been working with the art standards for a long time, this is a new one for us and very exciting. And in the new art standards, in the old way, we used to think a lot about outcomes. Students will be able to do X, Y, or Z. And now we think about the process. How does something happen? What is happening? And what is happening as art is being made? So let me just show you the 4 processes. So the first one is called creating. So it means just what you think it means, that you're conceiving and developing new ideas. So please, in the chat, give one example of how students might create something in your classroom. Oh my goodness, I have to stop touching this. Makerspace activities, coil pot, creating their own rhythms. Yes. Any others? Flip books, good. Self-portrait, choreography, memes. You guys have great ideas on that. Okay, the next one. The next process that this standards contains is performing. And this one is also pretty easy to understand what it means. It means that you're taking something, a work of art, you're interpreting it, and you're presenting it. So please give me another example in the chat of how students might perform. Act out a story, great, Aubrey. Right, music, spoken word, very good. Performing a skit, plays. Sing a thank you for moms, that's neat. Holiday show. Good, so there's a lot around music and theater, that is absolutely correct. The next one is responding, and that's one that we wouldn't as easily come to mind, and it means understanding how the arts convey meaning. So how do we interact with an artwork? So think museum experiences or concert experiences where you as a human are responding to the art that you're seeing or having performed. And then the 4th one is connecting. So that means personal. How do I perceive it based on me? So if all of us together were in a room and we were viewing a piece of art, we're all going to connect with it in a different way based on what our life experiences are. So it's the larger context of the world, but it's also what it means to us. So that responding and connecting is also really important as we're teaching the arts in elementary. So back to the how. How do we get started? If I haven't been doing it before or haven't felt really comfortable, I suggest that you select just one art form to begin. So my background is very strongly in visual art. So if I were to choose just one, I would do visual art. And in fact, when I was in the classroom, that's what I did. And secondly, I would choose to teach it 1 time per week, make that commitment. So 1 45 block a week. And for example, when I was in the classroom, I did visual art every Friday, last period of the day. And I set it up that way as a reward, but not in the sense that would ever be taken away from any student, as something to look forward to, because for some students, they look forward to that all week long. And it also allowed me time for prep and cleanup and to have parents there helping me. So picking out one art form and then also just really designating in your head, this is when I can do this. This is when this will be happening every week. And then it's time to look around for resources because there are many out there. So at a county level, we have created an arts lesson plan bank, and that's in its infancy, but there are pre-K through 5th lessons in all 5 of the arts areas. And I'm going to open it up this summer, and we're going to start intaking arts lessons to the new standards from teachers from all over our county. So that's a great place to go and look for things that are vetted, that have been looked at, that are to the new standard, but they're lesson plans, and they're written up in this format so that you can, it's just a normal lesson plan that you're used to using. And I've also broken down the parts of the standards, so as you're working with that type of lesson plan, you start to gain a familiarity with it. Another thing that you can do to start accessing the arts and start incorporating teaching is to use teaching videos. Now, I have a set of them up on our website, and Jessica can provide that link as well. And that's building. I'm adding about 1 per week. And these are really simple. So this one's paint chip collage. And I'm trying to keep the videos like 7, 8, 9 minutes. And you could pop that in with your students, or you could watch it ahead of time. But there's lots of it out there on YouTube. And it's just a really accessible way. I like to, for my own self, like to see something being taught. And this is what this is. It's just me standing up there teaching it, and you seeing a couple of samples of what that could look like. So those are arts for their own sake. There's also lots of integration strategies that you can use and are effective. And so 2 of them that are very powerful that are already in existence. One is called TEAL, Technology Enhanced Arts Learning. And that was developed by LA County Office of Education through some grant funding. And also Creativity at the Core has a set of modules also online that are ready to go that was done through the California County Superintendent's Office. And I'm sure Jessica will put those links up for you. I think the teal one that we have isn't quite right, but you can just pop that into your browser and you'll find it. So those are ready and available right now. But there's also some things that you can start to develop competency on your own as a teacher and start to work with your favorite things. So one of the activities we're going to do today involves close reading and an art project. So a few years ago, the English language learners department contacted me and they said, we have some books that we want to start giving you, and we want you to create art lessons around them. And of course, anyone can do this, and I want to show you how simple this is to do. So this is the book they gave me, and this book is from the 40s, and you can order it on Amazon for $8 or something like that. And it's called The 100 Dresses. And the reason the book is so effective is, even though it's such an old book, it's a story about immigration, about bullying, about kindness, and it really lends itself to an art project. So this is the first one I ever did, and the one we're going to work with today. So for the practice activity, we sent this out in the email yesterday. Just a piece of paper, unlined, could be copy paper. If you have drawing or watercolor paper, great. A pencil, a Sharpie, and then you can either paint or use another medium. So if you're painting, watercolors, brush, cup or water, paper towel, or you can do crayons or markers or colored pencils. You need the paper, the pencil, and the Sharpie. Okay, so step 1, I'm actually not gonna put any music. We'll take 2 minutes. Please go ahead and read this summary of the book, and I'll go ahead and set the timer. Feels like a dream, but I don't know. I'm in paradise. Lost in fantasy. Okay, about 30 more seconds. Okay. Now we're going to go into the practice activity, which is drawing. And you notice I have in the title with music in red because I am a strong supporter of always playing music when you're doing art because it helps you relax, it helps you get into the flow of creativity. So I want you to make a simple drawing of a dress in pencil. And I have mine on the left. It's not the be-all, end-all. It's just a little dress that I drew. And then we're going to go over it with a Sharpie so that it's very clear. A Sharpie is good because it doesn't bleed if you're painting. It doesn't get into the watercolor. So try and do a dress, maybe a dress for your own closet, a dress that you've seen, a dress that a friend has, and include as much detail as you can. So we're going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to put the music up and we're going to draw for about 5 minutes. Okay, we're at about 3 minutes left. I see lots of people working away diligently. Okay, about 2 minutes. If you've already done your pencil drawing, go ahead and go over it with the Sharpie now. Okay, 1 minute left. We're going to go to the next slide. This is the time for painting or coloring, depending on what materials you have. And I want to encourage you, and this is how I would encourage students, think about what you're feeling today and make your color choices that way, or what's special to you, colors that you really like. When I've done this lesson with boys, they sometimes pick sports teams or favorite color of cars. And I also want to encourage you to have designs. You can do polka dots, you could do rainbows, stripes, plaid, whatever you want. And I have a couple of tips if you're doing watercolor. So you wet your brush and dip it in the paint color. You use the edge of the area you want to paint and just back it in with water. You clean the brush thoroughly. And when you're moving around with the painting, you fill in sections that are not right next to each other so that the color won't bleed. And you blot with a paper towel if you make a mistake. Otherwise, if you're using crayons or colored pencils or markers, you just go ahead and do your thing. So we're going to give this another few minutes with the music up. Please relax, have fun, and make it as colorful as you can possibly imagine. I'm not necessarily endorsing this particular song for classroom use. Okay, about 2 minutes left. Keep it colorful, do your thing. Remember, this is your art piece. You can do anything you like. Okay, about 1 minute. Big finish. Okay, so that brings us to the end of our painting session. I notice a lot of people are still going, and of course you can go back and finish that at your leisure. And then what I would do with students, if we were in the class, if we were actually in the room together, I'd get up and do a gallery walk so you could walk around and see what all your peers or your classmates have done. And then I would have students stand up with their piece and talk about it. And so again, referring back to second language learners, to be able to get up and talk about something that you made has much more power and relevance. And again, it's dresses, this particular activity, but boys had no problem doing the dresses and as if it was for their mother and so forth, and using the personal colors or designs that were meaningful to them. And I like to model constructive feedback to students, feedback that is observant but also kind, and really encourage kids to talk about their artistic choices and execution. And I'm wondering if you don't mind putting up holding it up in your camera view. I'd love to see anybody who's interested in sharing, because I'm sure they all look incredibly different. That's the fun about doing this in a classroom. Oh, I see Michael. That's really colorful. Well done. Oh, there's a beautiful one by Sharon, Dana, Bridget. Wow. Liz, and you can see Nicole. They're all so nicely done and so different. Oh, look at Lindsay Hamill has some amazing design work going on there. Elizabeth, Tammy. Tammy has an elegant long dress. I love it. You guys are so creative. Julie has a yellow dress. Aubrey did some background work. I love Tony's pink and flirty and fun. Some of you took it down already, but wow, you guys really crushed it. And if you see how different all of ours are, even if you have the same pattern, like I would do the same pattern and photocopy it onto watercolor paper, the kids would do wildly different things with it because everyone is giving their personal take on it. So as you were drawing, did the music help you? Please use the chat for this. Did the music help you get loose? Was it fun? Was it relaxing? I think as adults, we do way too little of this, and thus the success of paint and sip. I mean, you could be sipping at home. I have no power over that, but did you use patterns? Did you use color to express yourself? Okay, so music's definitely helpful for some people. Music and art always work well together. This is true. That integration is always successful. Yeah, helps you to relax. When I first started painting, I used to put world music on in the garage and get out there, and it was sweaty because I live in Palm Desert, but it just helped me feel good about painting. Faster music makes you paint faster. Okay, that makes sense. Awesome. So these are all the very same experiences that our students have when we're doing art. The music helps them get into the right headspace, and then they can go ahead and do their creative work. All right, so another integration strategy that I want to share with you is visual thinking strategies, or using art as a text for study. And I saw a speaker, the man who originated this, you can look him up online, called Philip Yenawine, and he was with the Met in New York. And he developed this system about looking at a piece and really studying it, taking away from it. Instead of always it being a written text, which again is harder for some students, these are options. And so Jessica put a link up to one of the videos. I have 2 of these videos up on Easy Arts for Everyone. But if you look at the picture on the left, there's a painting. They presumably are there at a museum. The teacher is asking students what they see. And so we're going to replicate that here. And so this particular picture, this is a practice activity. I just want you to look at this for 2 minutes. Maybe make some notes. Who is it? What do you think she's doing? What is she wearing? What's the background? Just observe it, just for a hard 2 minutes without thinking about anything else, just taking that in. How often do we look at anything for 2 minutes? Okay, I'm going to speed that up just a little bit. So that was about 30 seconds where we took a good hard look at the picture. And now I'm going to go into the questioning strategies. So first of all, what's going on in that picture? What do you see? And I'll give you, well, I'm not going to give you the background yet. Please answer in the chat. What's going on there? Somebody knows the artist, okay. Her name is actually Yayoi Kusama, so that is true. Strong contrast in colors, yes. She's a poser. She certainly has an expression on her face. Color, pattern, contrast. No expression equals an expression. Repetition, great. Conducive to meditation, I never thought of that. That's really good. The artist is a part of her own artwork. Yes, and artists sometimes do that. Fruit and snakes. Interesting. Okay. Great job on question 1. Dress matches the background. Yes, it does. Energy. Oh my gosh, you guys have amazing answers. Okay, so the next question is, what do you see that makes you, oops, there goes my timer. What do you see that makes you say that? So we're asking students to give evidence. Like, so some of the things you just said, what do you see that's evidence for that? How do you know it's a pumpkin? She showed up at a party and was sad that her dress matched the decorations. Or maybe she was happy. Maybe that was the plan. Okay. Bright orange wig. How do you know that's not her hair? Circle, 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 circle. Okay. Any other evidence? Okay, dress and background, certainly true. Okay, so we're noticing things and then we're giving evidence to support our observations. Ooh, I love that contrast. Hair, lips, brightness of skin, right? Because she's the little bright spot in the middle of everything that's happening there. Okay, so let's go on to the third question, which is what more could we add? So you get to that point with students where they've kind of taken all the, oh, there's more great comments, where they've taken in all of the obvious things and then they start to dig a little deeper, and you've got to give time and room for that. So that's the point where you could kind of get into her expression. Like, what's her expression? What does that mean? Is that a matching dress to the background, or is that an accident? Why is it so busy? There's just a lot, and we tend to just move really quickly, and we don't give students that time to really dig in and notice deeply. So this one I picked, and again, this is a culturally relevant artist. And if I was doing this in the classroom, I say here, give wait time, but then I would share like a 2 to 3 sentence summary. So this is Yayoi Kusama. She's a very famous, actually one of the most famous living artists, female artists, and biggest selling out of Japan. And she lived in New York for a time in her early life and her early career. But she loves to do these self-portraits. She has different color wigs. Her expression is always inscrutable. She's like a modern day Mona Lisa. And she does a lot with backgrounds. And if you've ever heard of the Infinity Room, that's like a thing where you walk into a room, it's all lights and water and mirrors that she did, that was at the Broad a few years ago. She's really incredible. So that's how you take something, and it could be anything. I actually had another one that I just thought was a little bit too confusing for us to work on today, but you can take a piece of music and break it down that way. You can take a video of a dance or a theater scene and have students notice deeply and use that as your text rather than text in a textbook. So that is another integration strategy that we can access. Here's a very simple one. You can do a tableau of a moment in history. So a tableau is where you take a scene and you set all of the actors as a character in the scene and you recreate something that happened. And that is very easy to do. And you can see in the picture, they don't have costumes or sets, none of that, but it's kinesthetic. It gets kids off their feet and helps them make more meaning out of something that might be very flat on the page and uninteresting. Another one that's very fun And actually at Palm Springs Unified, we did a takeoff of Dance Your PhD, which you can check out online. It's an actual thing where people dance, choreograph the concepts. And I've seen this successfully done in elementary school where they were doing water cycle, math concepts. I've seen high schoolers do the circulatory system. So again, this gets kids thinking about, okay, I know what this is. How am I going to express that to you? So that assessment done through dance is really interesting. And it also has the added benefit, both of the two strategies we just are showing, of being collaborative. So you're not just doing it by yourself, you're doing it with partners, and you're organizing and you're making something come together, all the while having really a fantastic time. I mentioned that I have a background in poetry and I really love it. It's not one of the art forms per se, but yet language arts has its own art. And if you do writing in the classroom, language arts around poetry, then you can have students get up and perform. And it's a bit of theater. And I have this little girl in the picture. It makes me laugh because I would always have a beret and a bongo drum and we would do snaps, you know, when we were doing poems. But again, it gives students the opportunity to own their artwork and to share it with others and be proud of it. And it brings some fun and play into the learning process. So I have a poem here and I'm just wondering if I can have a volunteer do a read aloud in a dramatic way, because this is a small poem. It could be done in elementary. Is there anybody who'd like to go ahead and, let's see, let me look in the chat, see if I have any volunteers. Don't all jump in at once. Somebody has recommended Dana. Michael, I think you should do it. No, it's not happening? Okay. Well, if nobody is interested in volunteering, basically just teaching kids to get up and speak their words. So if this was a poem, you know, you would read it aloud on a stage. You could create a little stage in the room and have feedback and take turns, go round robin on that. Hold on, I'm checking out the chat, see if I missed anybody. Barbara had her hand up. Okay, Barbara, please take your mute off and go ahead.
A small kindness. We are never too poor or too small to give just a piece of ourselves, for that is how we were made. Tiny pieces of people, places, moments, our mosaic. Who are we to hold back a small kindness? It just might be someone else's missing piece.
Brilliant, Barbara. Okay, let's clap for her. Well done. Thank you. Okay, another fun thing to do is a drum circle. And this can be very easily done. You could just do it on a tabletop, counting out rhythms. I have a video up on our website. To the left is a drum circle, and that's done with fancy drums that have been purchased. On the right, I have a homemade drum that I made with my friend Ray, who's a longtime artist in residence. And he has a notation system where you use words like watermelon, 4 beats, or chocolate, or peach, and so forth. So again, for children who are very fidgety and have a lot of excess energy, drumming feels good. All the research points to how the vibrations enter your body and help you to relax. And so that's something that you can incorporate into your classroom. And we have been playing around with them. We'll add videos. I think we have 2 videos up right now of writing songs if you know the beats and you know the words, or not the words, the you know, peach, chocolate, whatever, and go ahead and compose around that. So I've pointed out some things today: social emotional, cultural, second language, social justice. I didn't say that explicitly yet. Multiple intelligence, fun. So please, in the chat, share, you know, a couple of ways you think that the arts could make your classroom more what? Besides busy.
Sorry.
Inclusive, I appreciate that. More accessible, more interactive, engaging. Keeps things lively, yes, more fun. Fun, I agree. Nothing wrong with fun, it's not a bad word. Creative. Love the idea of choreographing. Yes, choreographing works. I've done it, it absolutely does. Rhythm for reading and fluency, yeah, wow. Excellent. Relevance around current issues, absolutely. I didn't hit that too hard today, but boy, we've got lots of meaningful issues happening that we could address through the arts. Excellent responses, guys. You know, something we used to talk about long ago, and of course I've been teaching 28 years, is the multiple intelligences. And I love this because, you know, not every student is a scholar in the traditional sense of the word, and you have kids with many different intelligences. And you can see this is just a basic wheel that talks about what intelligences can we address through the arts, besides just being able to read and be quiet. And what do you see on that wheel? I haven't seen that for a long time, and I just started thinking about it the other day. What intelligences can we engage? Tammy, all of it. Oh, okay. There you go. There you go. All. That's right. So I throw up the word fun there a lot. I remember when I was first getting my credential all those years ago, and one of our teachers said the number one predictor of whether kids will stay in school or not is not how good they are at it or what their grades are. It's because they like it. And we want kids to stay in school. And I know, you know, when I was working elementary, I didn't think K-12 in that global sense, but I know now that if students don't graduate from school, they have very little to look forward to in the future. I see somebody said orchestra helped me stay in school. Boy, if you pull high school kids, they will say choir saved my life. I lived for art class. And those were always the things. So fun means motivation and engagement. It means you're interested in what's happening and you like it. So there's nothing wrong with fun. And when I was in elementary, there's a couple pieces that come down the road that I want you to know if you are an elementary teacher that are very important that you're setting the stage for. And first of all, if you're exposed to arts in elementary, you're very much more likely to take it as an elective in secondary, middle, and high school. So if you've had music, you're more likely to take band. If you've had art, you're more likely to take the art class and not be intimidated, be willing to try those things. So what you're doing is you're really opening up their possibilities by offering it in your classroom in elementary. Secondly, and I didn't know this either, but I have 3 kids and 2 of them went to UC and 1 went to Cal State. But electives are part of the A through G requirements that you need to get into these colleges. So again, setting the groundwork for students to successfully take these electives in high school is important work that you're doing. Also, I can't underestimate the fact that California is a creative economy. And although we're in a downturn at the moment, there are 2.7 million jobs in California around Northern California, around the tech world and around Hollywood and TV. And oftentimes they have to bring in graduates from other states because they don't have the skills, they aren't being taught the skills in California. So we want our California kids to get those great California jobs. Equity and access, I think about, I want to say about 6 years into the arts work, I realized that my #1 issue was fighting poverty because that's such an overarching concern. And so if you take the arts out of public school, what you're in essence saying to people is, and to parents is, you can go ahead and do that privately. But of course, if you are living in low socioeconomic circumstances, you cannot do that privately. And the playing field is no longer level. So for them, some long-range benefits is that you're creating a literacy, a comfortable feeling about the arts and an appreciation that enhances all of their lives, all of your students. And for you, it's another effective tool in your teacher's toolbox. And that's a term from way back when I was first getting my credential. I remember distinctly, what are my tools? And I also want to stress the point that in elementary, you really have a lot of power that you might not realize, because if you make meaningful change across the board, you are the ones who are going to set up what happens in middle and high school for students. I want you to think about how the arts are all around you all the time. I think we don't think about that, but I, for one, I'm always listening to music. I love movies, I'm reading, I love to look at art, I love to make art. So it's always present, and that, you know, you can draw from that, you can be inspired. And I don't want you to be intimidated. I think a lot of times we think, oh, I can't do that because I'm not an expert, I don't have a degree in that. Well, the heck with that. Risk-taking is part of what we do in the arts, and it's not about it being perfect. It's about having it available and having it a part of the educational experience. Please reach out to me and ask for help. That's what I'm here for. I have a web page that has a ton of resources. It just basically doubled during COVID-19 because I'm trying to make things available. And also, I'm happy to answer your emails. I'm here, and I have never been more on top of my email than now. This particular, I see in the chat that some people would like to see this again. This is being recorded, and then probably by Monday or Tuesday, this will be up on my webpage. You know, so if you want to view it again or you want to share it with the team. And please, if you would take a few minutes to do this survey, we are just delving into the world of webinars. So this is new. We've done 2 this week at the county level, and I'm open to feedback. You can write down that she doesn't know how to use the polls. I'm aware. I'll work on that. That's coming. But I would love to have your feedback as we develop more webinars of what you'd like to see. And can you put the web address in there, Jessica, please? I think she just did. I think it's a couple of pages up. And at this point, we're at 10:52, so we're almost at the end of their time. So I thank you so much for spending an hour with us. And I'm going to stay on for about 10 minutes or so to answer questions. So thanks, everybody. And I really want to encourage you and support you in any way I can to make arts part of the elementary world. Thank you.